Good morning, Luke.
Good morning, Anthony. Very welcome, big welcome to you to come to a Cuppa of Life Cafe this morning. It's Monday morning. How are you feeling?
Well, you know what? I think it's a miracle I'm here at this time of the morning and functional.
You're not a morning person?
No.
Well, I'm glad you got the memo like me, and we've got the black on this morning. So
Yeah.
Did you feel like as a kid that you felt something that was different to what the community considered as normal?
You know, I think the first experience I had of that was when I was about 3 or 4. We were in a flood at Neutral Bay at that stage, and our grandma and grandpa used to give us little china tea sets to play with. Not me, I got trained. But I was playing with my sisters. We were playing, mummies and daddies and families and having cups of tea and had our teddies in the seats and all that sort of stuff. And Dad came down and said, "You don't do that. Get upstairs right now."
Right.
And I knew immediately that I'd done something wrong. I didn't know what I'd done wrong, but I knew immediately. Dad was gender policing, as people did in those days. Very famous preacher, like, in certain circles in Australia, Pentecostal, charismatic circles, the name Anthony, well, they would know me as Tony Van Brown then. I had an open pulpit in some of the biggest mega churches in Australia, to be able to go and preach. Because I wasn't a bad preacher. It was 22 years of internal torment, because I didn't have any other belief except that, it was straight people who went to heaven, gay, lesbian people went to hell. And so that was why I was constantly, daily, doing everything I can to stop any thoughts, any feelings. And it was a battle. I thought I was battling against the devil. I was battling against my flesh. But, one day I woke up and realized, actually, you're fighting yourself.
Was there a pivotal moment that you realized that I've got to just tell my honest truth?
Yes. Oh, yes. It was very profound, because what had happened, Luke, just before my 40th birthday, I'd met a guy and I'd fallen in love with him. But this time, something happened, and it's always been hard to put this into words, but I was touched deep in my soul. There were parts of me that had never been awakened. And they were awakened and they were triggered. And then I would look back on the last 22 years ago. Okay, so I've been through exorcisms. I've been through a conversion therapy residential program. I've had 16 years of marriage. And look what's happened now. I have fallen in love with a man. And I wanted that so desperately. If you are true to yourself, and if you accept this, which you've been fighting and rejecting all your life, these are the consequences. Your children may never speak to you again. Your marriage will break up. You'll be humiliated. I knew what the consequences were, but I was so tired, Luke.
Yeah.
Of daily fighting this thing. And, when I found love, for the first time in my life, I actually wanted it. My life changed with when I came out, it was quite traumatic. Because, I did a public confession in front of 800 people congregation, and that was traumatizing. And all I had was shame and a sense of failure. So it took me a few years to get myself together and resolve some of that stuff, about 7 years. And then it all changed. And then I wrote A Life of Unlearning. and then my life changed. I tell you what, my life changed then. I never expected that when I wrote that book that there would be, like 16 years later, there'd be a third edition. But the first two sold out. And then I was seeing that on Amazon, people were paying hundreds of dollars for secondhand copies on Amazon. I'm going, what? WTF? And I went, oh my God. So then I created a third edition. And every time I've gone deeper, I've gone back and from page one and rewritten everything to improve the writing. So, that's been quite a journey, because when the first edition came out, my inbox was flooded with emails. There's nothing that makes you feel better to know that you've impacted a person's life. And I got this response back from a young guy called Adrian in Missouri. He says, I read your book when I was 16. I kind of stumbled across it in my darkest hour and it saved my life.
Oh,
I grew up in a Pentecostal mega church in the Bible Belt. I came out and basically got banished from the church and my family. It broke me the way they treated me. I was at the point where I told myself I'd just end it. No one loved me, or so I falsely believed. I had a plan and a date, but I came across your book. Man, did the experience touch me. I made a decision to live and to live my life to the fullest potential after that, and I'm doing pretty darn good right now. I really believe that I would have ended that day if I hadn't come across a life of unlearning. I truly believe God used your experience that night. I know you don't really know me, but I just want to say thanks for being brave enough to share your story. So when I began supporting all these people who were emailing me, I realized the problem was with Christian organizations, churches, church leaders. So we reach out to people to engage in a dialogue. So it's not activism, it's about dialogue, it's about being an ambassador for the community and educating and informing people, doing seminars, workshops, and one-on-one conversations. I'm working with 2 churches at the moment to help them get to a point where they will become completely affirming of LGBTQ people.
What's the one thing, main point out of the book that you should encourage people to dive into it?
The one point, I guess, is live your life with integrity and authenticity.
That's beautiful. That's amazing.